Hey, thanks for coming in. I really wanted to sit down and talk about your future here. It's all about building a solid, future-proof career in IT. We're going to go through this step by step, lay down a strong foundation so you're prepped for anything that comes your way.
So here's the gameplay. We'll kick things off with the real basics, the hardware and software that's the backbone of everything. From there, we'll zoom out and see how IT actually powers the whole business. We'll talk about turning raw data into smart decisions, and super important, how we keep it all secure. Then we'll wrap up by looking at where your role is headed and actually build out a real career roadmap for you. Sound good? Let's get into it.
All right, first things first, the building blocks. Think about it. You wouldn't try to build a skyscraper without knowing about steel and concrete, right? Same deal in IT. You've got to know the core components cold. This is square one.
Okay, let's start with a quick pop quiz. Every single computer we work with has one component that's basically doing all the heavy lifting, the real thinking. What's it called and what's its main job? Trust me, you'll have to explain this a million times in your career, so let's lock it down.
Yep, you got it. The CPU, that's the brain. It's the engine, executing every command, crunching all the numbers. But here's the thing, it can't do it solo. It needs RAM. Think of RAM as the CPU's workbench, its short-term memory. The CPU grabs data from RAM to work on it instantly. So the more RAM you have, the more stuff the CPU can juggle at the same time without getting bogged down. They're a team, simple as that. One is almost useless without the other.
Okay, so what about long-term storage? Well, there are two main options on the table. You've got your old-school hard disk drives, the HDDs. They have a spinning disk inside, kind of like a little record player. They're great for getting a ton of storage for cheap, but man, they are slow and can break easily. Then you've got the modern choice, solid-state drives, or SSDs. No moving parts at all. They use flash memory, which makes them insanely fast and way more durable. And believe me, knowing the difference is absolutely critical, whether you're building a new server or just helping an exec pick out a new laptop.
So it holds all this hardware together and makes it actually do something. That's the operating system, the OS. It's the master coordinator, the glue. It's in charge of managing memory, telling the CPU what to work on next, and giving us that interface we can actually click on. Seriously, without an OS, all that amazing hardware is just, well, it's a very expensive paperweight.
Okay, so that's the individual machine. Got it. Now, let's zoom out a bit. How do we take all these computers and use them to run an entire business?
All right, get ready for two acronyms you're going to hear every single day: ERP and CRM. So an ERP, that's Enterprise Resource Planning, is basically the company's central nervous system. It pulls everything together: finance, HR, the supply chain, you name it, all into one big system. It's how we actually know what's going on financially. Then you have CRM, Customer Relationship Management. That one is all about, you guessed it, the customer. It keeps track of every phone call, every purchase, every little detail, so our sales and marketing folks can actually build relationships, not just make transactions.
And that brings us to the cloud, which has completely changed the game for IT. See, instead of buying and managing a ton of our own servers, the cloud lets us just rent what we need when we need it. We can spin up a bunch of servers for a huge product launch and then shut them down the next day, and we only pay for what we actually used. The flexibility is just incredible.
All right, let's talk about what might be the most valuable thing in business today: data. We are sitting on mountains of it. But here's the catch. Raw data, by itself, is pretty much useless. Our job, our real job, is to help the business transform those raw facts into insights they can actually use to make smart decisions.
And this is a really key distinction. You see a spreadsheet with a list of today's sales figures? That's data. But a report that shows sales for one specific product shot up by 30% in the last hour? Now that's information. It has context, it tells a story, and our whole purpose is to build the systems that can create that story from the raw numbers.
So how do we do that? Well, mainly with two kinds of tools. First, you've got business intelligence, or BI tools. They help the higher-ups look at what's happening right now and figure out the why. But where it gets really cool is with predictive analytics. These tools look at all our past data to make a really educated guess about what's going to happen next. Imagine telling the supply chain exactly what they'll need next month so we never run out of stock. That's what we bring to the table.
Okay, but let's be real. None of this amazing stuff matters if we can't keep it safe. Every single piece of data, every system we run is a target. There are always people trying to get in. So we have to talk about defense.
The bedrock of all information security is something called the CIA triad. No, not that CIA. It stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is simple, keeping our data private so only the right people can see it. Integrity means making sure that data is accurate and hasn't been messed with. And availability means our people can actually get to the systems and data when they need to. Every single thing we do in security is about balancing these three goals.
So, what does that look like in the real world? Well, a firewall is our digital bouncer, right? It stands at the door and keeps the bad traffic out. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is like having a key and a password for the door. One isn't enough. But honestly, the most important thing? Training. Because you can have the best tech in the world, but the weakest link will always be a person who clicks on a shady link in an email. Making our people smart about threats is our #1 defense.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about the future. Your future, specifically. A lot of people are getting nervous that AI is going to take away IT jobs. I just don't see it that way. I think AI isn't replacing us, it's promoting us. It's automating all the boring, repetitive stuff so that we can finally focus on the bigger, more strategic work.
I mean, just think about it. Let's have AI handle the endless password resets and the basic system health checks. That frees you up to work on the big picture stuff, like fine-tuning our cloud infrastructure, figuring out the rules for how we use AI, that's AI governance, and just generally managing these super complex systems. Your job stops being about fixing what broke yesterday and starts being about designing what we'll need tomorrow.
Something else you need to get your head around is how IT teams are structured. You've got the classic hierarchy, right? A clear chain of command, very top-down. But more and more, companies like ours use a matrix structure. This means you might report to me for your overall career growth, but you'll also report to a project manager for the specific software rollout you're working on this quarter. It's all about making it easier to work together across different teams.
Okay, listen up, because this is probably the most important part of our whole conversation. We've looked at the landscape, but now we need to draw your map. A career in this field is basically a commitment to non-stop learning. I'm serious. The second you stop learning is the second you start becoming irrelevant. So the big question is, how do you stay ahead of the curve?
Look, I always recommend a 3-part strategy. First, take charge of your own training. Big players like AWS and Microsoft offer amazing courses that are always current. Second, get connected. Join some professional groups or online forums. I guarantee you'll learn more from hearing how other people solved real-world problems than you will from any book. And third, just make reading up on the latest tech news part of your daily routine. You have to stay curious.
But, and this is a big but, you have to be smart about where you get your information. Not everything you read online is credible. Before you ever bring a new idea to me or anyone else, you have to vet your source. Ask yourself, who wrote this? Are they actually an expert? Are they showing their work, citing their sources? And what's their angle? A blog post from a vendor is designed to sell you their product, not give you the whole truth. You need to look for unbiased, data-driven sources.
And one last tip. As you're learning all this new stuff, you have to constantly check your understanding. Don't just passively watch videos. Go find practice exams, do some quizzes. They're hands down the best way to discover what you think you know, but actually don't. And once you find those gaps, you can focus your study time right there. It's all about learning smarter, not just cramming harder.
So, that's a lot I know. We went from the guts of a single computer all the way to the future of an IT career. The roadmap is right here, in front of you. All the pieces are there. Now there's only one thing left to figure out. What's your first step?